Live on Instagram. How's that? That's
Okay,
pretty good.
take it, Phil. Start it. Do another countdown.
5, 4, 3. Now, thank goodness you picked that up.
Well,
otherwise,
something wasn't right. The clicker, the timer wasn't going on, folks.
OMG. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to another episode of The Jersey Alchemist. We are live right now, again, on Instagram. I'm your host, Dr. John Gerard Gallucci.
And I'm Philip D'Angelo.
And there's Bones in the back controlling the wheel of fate and destiny.
Wow. Yeah, maybe we'll give that a spin later. I'm not
Maybe.
sure. If he doesn't stand in the way. I mean, he's starting to, throw some shoulders and elbows around with that Army outfit on. Yeah. So, wow, this is pretty amazing. This is a multi-camera shoot, which we were talking about a second ago.
Yep.
That I Love Lucy, I believe, was the first multi-camera shoot on a television series.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe on the comments, if you can double check that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know.
But I Love Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. Good show, one of my favorites.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Oh, a classic.
Come on, the
Early-
the chocolate
early,
on the conveyor
oh,
belt. Oh, that was amazing.
Early American TV.
Yeah,
Right?
It was beautiful. It really was. How you doing, pal?
Good. So I have a little story.
Ooh.
And you know how if you're familiar with the format here, we may pick a topic, or the Wheel of Fate and Destiny picks the topic, or Bones. Bones always wants to talk about osteoporosis. How many times can we do that?
Calcium
But
deficiency.
no matter where we start, we immediately go down a rabbit hole, which is really the fun of the whole platform of the podcast.
100%.
So last night, before I kind of signed off and went to bed, I let my two dogs out, crazy dogs, into the yard, which is double fenced in. It serves a dual purpose, the double fence. It keeps critters out, but it keeps the dogs in.
Okay.
Now, what I can say is that my dogs are, one of them is a Siberian Husky. They are notoriously escape artists. And they're notoriously yard killers, not necessarily toward people, but toward any other critter that their little pea brains, they don't have pea brains, that's not nice, but if their little radar system locks onto a smaller animal, that's it. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to eat it on the spot, and it ain't going to be pleasant to watch. And believe me, it's happened to me. The other husky is a hybrid wolf. He's a gray wolf husky hybrid. So I have two escape artists and two big-time yard killers.
And your dogs are very intimidating.
I
mean, that wolf look,
well,
it's a look.
yeah,
It's a look.
They're intimidating.
Yeah.
But so last night, the usual shtick is I let them out. They run around the yard, they pee, they poop, they do whatever they're going to do. They howl at the moon. And then when they're ready to come in, they know the routine. They're going to take some water. And if it's real late, then it's time for bed. And I put them in the pen. And I have an indoor-outdoor pen. This way, I don't have to worry about them going to the bathroom in the middle of the night or if I'm out. So I break a little nylabone in half and I give them each one, and they love that. That's like their, wow, that's high-priced territory for them. So they wouldn't come in from the yard. And it's 5 minutes and I'm out there whistling and lying to them. You want a treat? All that stuff that you do to try to get your dogs back in the house. So finally, after 10 minutes of that, I went out onto the back porch. There was nothing. Complete silence. I couldn't see them. I couldn't hear them. I couldn't feel them. And now I'm like, oh no.
That's a problem.
And then I'm thinking, okay, one or two things happened here. A tree fell, unbeknownst to me, and it took part of the fence down way in the back. It's about an 1.5 acre piece of property.
Wow.
And if that is true, then there's somewhere in the muck and mire in the woods behind my house, it's 57 acres behind my property. But if they're still in the yard, that means they're completely preoccupied with something and we're not listening to Dad. I said, okay. So I went back inside and I grabbed my fireplace poker, you know, the iron 2.5 foot with the big hook on it.
Yeah, it's a weapon.
I grabbed the weapon and I went out into the yard and I called them. And now they sensed that I meant business. Here they come, both trotting, and Lucky's doing a prance. He's high stepping with his head up, and he's got a full jackrabbit stuck all the way in the back of his mouth, like not in the front, because then Rena could grab it from him. It's all the way in the back. In other words, stay away from me. This is my rabbit. I'm like, oh. Then I thought, this is just, it is what it is. Every May, they kill rabbits and they kill groundhogs and anything else that ends up in the yard that's smaller than them. And when they kill those critters, they waste no time. It's down the hatch. So a story from, I don't know, about 5 years ago is that Lucky came in at the end of the night with blood all over his face and his chest. And I says, what the hell? What happened? And I noticed he wasn't hurt. Rena didn't respond. Rena was still missing in action. So I says, hey, did you kill Rena? What the hell is going on here? So I went out onto the porch, and the yard was pretty dark. And I saw that Rena was lying on the ground, halfway out into the yard, which was about 100 feet away or so. And I'm like, oh no. So I go out there and I turn on the light on my cell phone. And as I got closer and closer, I could see she was kind of moving and wriggling around. And I said, what are you doing? And she turned around and she looked at me like a werewolf. And she looked up at me. She was in a crouch, and the entire hind section of a fully grown rabbit was going down the hatch. It was, and she was just going like, ah, ah, like a Komodo dragon swallowing a warthog or something. And the rabbit's 2 legs in the back disappeared down Rena's gullet. And I stood there gobsmacked and I said, oh my God, that's my little Rena. I came away with a complete different feel for who the hell she was and him. And then I realized that when he did come in, I was standing by the refrigerator. He came in and slapped his butt down because he wanted a treat. He's panting. His eyes are all googly. They're all going back and forth. And he lets out this big, huge belch. So he ate the top half of the rabbit, and she got the back half, and the rabbit was gone lickety-split. And they've done this with groundhogs, and the groundhogs are big and plump. They're like at least a dozen pounds, these things. And you know, it's not nice to see, but it happens every May. But you can't deny who your pets are. So I remember saying something about this on social media, and I got lambasted from some old friends about how dare you should have taken them to training. Training? You want to take a husky and a wolf husky hybrid and train out of them their instincts of survival? Sorry, homie's not that guy. So if every year a groundhog or a rabbit or 2 or 3 go down the hatch, you know what? I have to deal with it. That's all there is to it. So they didn't finish because I pushed the issue to come in. I put them right in their pen, blood everywhere. And this morning I went into the yard before I let them out, and I got a snow shovel, and I got the remains of the rabbit and catapulted it over the fence, and then the vultures are going to take care of it. There's also a bobcat back there, so the bobcat now thinks he's got a steady gig. But I guess the point is, what do you do when your animals eat other animals? Am I supposed to somehow or another try to stem the tide? Am I supposed to try to change what they are? I wouldn't do that for all the money in the world. Sorry. And I don't want that to happen. Like I said, I spent a lot of money double fencing my yard in, but every year the groundhogs are under the shed, or the rabbits are going back and forth, or they even catch birds in midair. Ugh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, John. They're animals. Look up the definition of animal.
Yeah.
There and certain things bring out the primal being of an animal. Have you ever given your dogs like a real, like a steak bone? I know you're not supposed to, like a real bone. I mean, forget about it. You can't go near that dog. I don't care how much they love you and how much you've taken care of them. You go near that, you're going to be missing one of your fingers. Because when it comes to food, I mean, dogs, any animal, they just get very primal,
Yeah.
and it's their survival mechanism. You know,
Well, uh,
and that's all survival.
right. Now, what you have to know how I treat my dogs. I cook 2 or 3 times a week for them. They don't eat dog food. They don't. And you know why I don't want them to eat dog food? Because dog food, look, your people food is poisoned, gang. It's poisoned. I promise you it's the truth. So why would you think that the food that they make for your cats and dogs isn't full of garbage that's going to poison them? Case in point, the shit that came from China about 7 or 8 years ago almost knocked my dog off. And then I almost knocked the store manager out because I went back the next day and was smoking hot mad. He didn't want to hear a thing I had to say. Not a thing. I guess he's not a pet owner. I don't know, or he doesn't feed his pets the shit that he was selling that had the American flag on it, and on the bottom it says made and processed in China. So if they're going to poison us, they're going to poison your dogs.
John, we've had a lot of discussions here about pesticides in food, how we're being poisoned as humans,
Absolutely.
and the same thing is happening to our pets. I mean, all right, we see all these cute commercials on TV, a cute dog, a cute cat, but in reality, nobody cares how cute they are. These companies are just like the almighty dollar, the bottom line. In any situation, follow the money. And that's what it is. They don't care what they put in, though. It's so awesome that you feed your dog, that you cook for your dogs.
Yeah, what do I cook for them? I go to the supermarket and I get chopped meat and I get ground turkey and ground chicken, and I either make one or the other or a combination of all three. And if you're going to use beef, folks, when you cook that in a big saute pan with a lid on it, you got to stir it and mix it. And then after you're done, take it over to your sink, put it inside the sink, turn on the water gently so that there's a steady stream, not a drip splash, steady stream, and watch the fat rise to the top. And then you can either use a ladle or just tilt that big saucepan so that all of the fat rolls down the drain. So you would say, well, how do I take the fat out of what I make my dogs or cats? It's that easy. I've been doing it for years. But you got to do that because the vet will tell you if you give your dogs a high fat diet, you'll give them pancreatitis. Well, I don't want that to happen. But here's the point. If some of the lumps of chopped meat kind of persist and they end up in the dog's bowl, they act sometimes like I've given them jawbreakers to eat. It's like they can't chew it, they're looking at it, and it's so I get the kitchen shears and I cut it up for them. So I usually take a lot of time cutting up the meat.
Wow.
Yeah, until a rabbit comes by and they tear it to
They
pieces.
cut their own meat.
And they eat the head.
Yeah.
They eat the pelvis, the hind legs, the whole rabbit, the whole. They'd eat porcupines too if they were back there.
John, do you give your dogs, like, besides chicken, steak, beef, whatever, you don't give them regular table food? Like, are you giving them chicken parmesan?
No.
Are you giving
No.
them like I'm a big fan of, I'll feed my dog like you were, but I don't feed them. If you love your dog, your animal,
Yeah.
you will, just like a human, you will not give them chicken parms, even though they'll inhale it, it tastes good. Even ice cream. I'm not a big guy, some people give ice cream, some dairy products to the dogs. I'm not big on that.
Well,
Uh-oh.
my aunt, God bless her, still alive. She's going to be 97 in November. And decades ago, she had one dog after the next, and she had 2 or 3 cats in the same house. And I was allergic to the cats, so I'd be like, "Arr," my eyes were all swelled up. But she fed the dogs exactly what we ate. So if we went over there for a Sunday dinner and we had macaroni, we didn't call it pasta back then, it was
Yeah.
macaroni.
Amen.
Macaroni with meatballs and pork butt and sausage
Amen.
and salad and forgot the cheese and anything else that you thought that a bunch of Italians would eat on a Sunday, that's what the dogs got. Except, you know, because we came over for dinner, she used to have pie or cake, and she was big on whipped cream and butter icing, and I wasn't, right? But guess what? When the dog gobbled his food, they would get a piece of the cake with whipped cream on it, and the dog would gobble the whipped cream. And then they thought it was a hoot by giving the dog beer. Then the dog would get loaded and scoot around the house and would do a headstand on the couch, and everybody would laugh. But those dogs, honestly, I was a small kid, but they didn't do well. You know, they made it, 8, 9, 10 years, but they really should have been 15, 16 years in the making. And their GI tracts are not meant for the food that we would eat. And quite frankly, our GI tracts are not made for the food that most people eat in the West.
Amen.
It's just not.
I know dogs can't have chocolate.
Right.
Chocolate is poison.
Yeah, chocolate's no good.
Raisins, I
Yeah.
heard raisins.
I heard grapes and raisins are no go, and then
Yeah,
I
no
worried
fun.
about blueberries one day because I dropped a few on the floor and boom, Rena was on it and gobbled them down. Then I realized that there's dog food out there that advertise with blueberries. So all right, fine.
Maybe it's just easier to get a cat. What do you think? I'm not a cat
Our
person.
producer is a cat person.
Really?
She's from Planet Feline.
Really?
Oh yes.
Where is that in the solar system? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? It has ears. The planet out there. Ears,
does,
a tail.
yeah.
Yeah. What's so attractive? I mean, if you want to step on, you don't have to talk. I mean, you don't have to go on camera, Mrs. Producer. What is it about cats that you prefer over dogs?
Speak loud, please. Come on.
I
They're
can't
just
believe the
nice.
woman who
They're
doesn't
just-
start.
Okay, they're just nice.
You're just
full
nice.
of love.
All right.
Did you ever
full
see a
blown.
cat go berserk?
Yeah,
Make
cats are mean.
ribbons
I don't
out
know
of
what she's
somebody?
talking about.
They're just nice.
Yeah, they're
Nice.
hunters.
Full
Cats
of
are
love.
hunters.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Cats,
Dogs are
cats
hunters.
kill for pleasure. They'll bat poor little mouse around. They'll bat it
We
around and
just talked
play
about
with
two
it.
dogs eating a rabbit in the yard. Come on.
No, they weren't playing with it. That was their instinct.
food.
That was that. That was it.
Wow.
And by the way, yeah, I told the producer this morning before you got here.
Yeah.
I says,
We want to raise.
my dogs were they were kind of getting bored with life. Like it's in the pen, it's out of the pen, it's in the yard. Here comes he's cooking for us again. After they ate that rabbit, they were 3 years old again.
So make
They
sure
were
that
they
you
were
cut
invigorated
the dog food really tight and small.
when
Yeah.
I let them into the house this morning after they went into the yard, scooting around with their nose to the ground looking for the remains, which I got rid of. They burst through that door, and Lucky flew across the family room, used the hassock, the ottoman as a springboard, and went straight over the back of the couch.
Wow.
And I was like, "I'll be damned, Shazam!" He's invigorated
Wow. So what?
because he's 10 years old.
Wow, that's no joke. So what you have to do is to go to some old school butcher shop where they have some animals hanging out and buy one or two and throw them in the backyard.
I know.
And this way they could feel like they're hunting them down and they could eat that raw meat.
It's been suggested by
That's exactly what they're looking for.
several
Yeah.
friends that I give them a raw diet, and I guess big on the raw diet scene for dog owners are frozen turkey necks, wine necks, because the neck bones don't splinter. But you did mention something before about giving your dogs, a steak bone, and you're
Yeah.
not supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. It really depends on where the hell your dog is from and what they're all about. There was a stretch of 2.5 years that I lived in the Caribbean. And the indigenous people on the island, inherently hated the wild dogs. It was a constant fight. Constant fight. The dogs would attack them when they could, and these people would kill the dogs, usually in an ugly way with machetes and whatnot. But we, as a bunch of American kids and Canadian kids that were down in the islands, we loved the dogs, so we used to feed them. And we found out very, very quickly that you could throw them an entire chicken carcass. And everybody said, "Oh, never give your dogs chicken bones because they splinter and they'll get caught in their throats." These son of a gun wild dogs, They were used to killing farmers' chickens and whatnot. The only difference is they ate the chicken raw, and we were throwing the spent carcasses to the dogs, and all you heard was and crunch, crunch, crack, crack, boom, and they were looking for more. So we fed those dogs whole chicken carcasses for 2.5 years.
Wow, and they did okay.
They did great, but my brother had, my God, he had an alligator of a dog. He had a husky German Shepherd hybrid named Layla, and we went to a steakhouse one night, and he brought the bones home, and he somehow or another cut them in half, and it was a big, big bone like this, and of course then he gave it to the dog, and the next day the dog looked tenuous, the dog was drooling, the dog couldn't eat, the dog couldn't drink. They took the dog to the vet. Where was that bone? Stuck in the dog's throat because she tried to swallow it whole.
Wow, yeah, it's no joke. You really have to be careful. Like I'm not a big bone person for dogs for that reason, because their jaws are just so strong that
Right.
most bones, 99% will splinter.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
and even the rawhide bones you buy at the supermarket, I've heard vets say to me,
I don't
my
like them
vet's
either.
kind of a comedian. You know, whenever I ask a question, she'll go, oh, so you want to give your dog pancreatitis because you give your dog cheese. It's like, I've given my dogs cheese ever since I was 4 years old. What's the problem? It's okay. It's okay. When your dog starts throwing up, bring the dog in. I'll take care of your dog who's got pancreatitis. And the same thing with bones or the rawhide bones. She goes, oh, so you want to give your dog a bowel obstruction, do you?
Yeah.
Because they lop off
And they
big
just go.
lumps of the rawhide, and it goes down the hatch, and it causes a bowel obstruction.
Well, how about these dog toys, right? Now,
Oh, yeah.
I raised Rottweilers. Rottweilers have strong jaws,
Oh, boy.
and every toy I would give them, they would destroy. And then, you sent away via, social media, you see something on there, it comes in the mail, and you give it to the dog, it destroys that. I've been to every pet store, and I ask everybody, will I get my money back if I come back and this thing's destroyed? Oh, he'll never chew it up. They always chew it up, those jaws.
My kids, years ago, when Lucky, the wolf hybrid, was about 3, tearing everything up. Thank God he laid off the furniture. Rena chewed everything, and when there was nothing left to chew, Rena chewed the windowsills off the walls. And then when they were gone, this is not a joke,
Yeah.
she saw the toggle switch on the light and chewed the toggle off the light switch.
That's impressive.
Right,
That's
but
impressive.
they bought their dogs, the impenetrable pig. I think you could buy a giraffe, a pig, all these different animals, but this one was a pink pig, and it was tagged as, impenetrable, the indestructible pig.
Yeah.
So they give it to the dog, and the dog's all happy. He goes running off into another room with it, with his head held high. He knew it was for him. And in about a half an hour, he came back with all of the fluffy, fuffly stuff from, and they were all like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
there you go. So some dogs are capable of disemboweling its prey, and my 2 dogs, huskies and wolves, are made to do that. They just are. So if you don't want to tolerate a dog that's gonna eat other animals, a husky isn't for you. Neither is a wolf hybrid. Quick story: I was down the shore walking both my dogs at 6:30 on a Sunday morning, a sleepy Sunday Jersey Shore morning. Lucky was on the street side in a retractable leash with a harness, and Rena was on the lake side. There was a street and the lake and the Atlantic Ocean behind us. And I'm not paying attention. I'm half asleep, just making sure that Lucky doesn't get further into the street in case a car comes by at 6:30. The next thing I know, bango, my left arm almost got pulled out of its socket. Rena goes diving into this big, huge bush, and I hear, rah, 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 and she comes out with this big, huge, white duck. It was like the mother of all ducks, like this big, and it was too big to be in her mouth, and it's got her hair in its beak, and she's going. Rrr. I had to jump on her to pry that duck out of her mouth. And I says, "What's wrong with you? Leave the duck alone." And the duck walked away. It reminded me of a scene from Toy Story where one of those,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it was like,
Oh,
it was
my.
walking away like clearly dazed and a bit injured with Rena's hair in its bill,
Wow.
and Rena had duck feathers everywhere all over her face. And they said, "Are you serious? If anybody sees that, they'll have me arrested."
Yeah, these dogs are killers. I mean, it's just in their nature. You know what, John? Maybe you should get like a Chihuahua.
No,
You
no.
sure, a pug. Pugs are nice. Get a nice, cute little pug.
No,
They're
no.
about
A
2
pug is
pounds.
nice when my neighbor has a pug. Then they're cute. I don't want a pug. I don't want a pug. No.
You want a dog? You want to
Well, look, let me say this to
I'm
you.
a big dog fan.
Look, Jersey, eagles abound in Jersey now. So we got coyotes. Forget about the fox. They're everywhere. There's more fox than squirrels in my neighborhood. So there's coyotes and fox. There are a couple of lone wolves that have been recorded and put up on the local, email thing, lone wolf scene. And there's vultures. And there's
Vultures.
bobcats, which we already talked about on a previous episode. I saw a bobcat 2 weeks ago, right in between my fence and my neighbor's. There's an easement between the 2 yards. There's a bobcat. I was like, oh wow, bobcat's not a joke. Bobcat's not a joke. So, and the hawks. The hawks are everywhere. So eagles and hawks. So we got attacks from the air, from the land, every which way, including a lot of snakes in the back. So you want to get a tiny dog, you better live in an apartment somewhere. Get a tiny dog, get a little foofy dog for your apartment. But if you're going to live where I live, you better get a dog, maybe more than one dog, that can handle themselves.
I've seen dogs that, if they're heavily trained, like on some regiment where they just do a lot of, like there's a working class dog and they love to be worked with, sit, stay, find things. I mean,
Right.
they're amazing. And if you do that, I mean, they kind of get tired, and I don't know if this will help your situation or anybody's situation, but they kind of get tired physically and mentally, and it kind of settles them down.
Oh, yeah.
Like that
Oh, yeah.
workload of training for 30 minutes
Yeah.
or something. So I don't know if that'll help them stop from eating up a rabbit, but I mean, it's worth a try.
Mm.
You know?
Like I said, they're not spring chickens anymore.
Yeah.
One is 10 and one is 9, but boy, they were doing well, but wow, were they invigorated after eating fresh food.
Wow. So, John, if you had to alchemize this episode about your killer dogs, how would you do it?
I was gonna say I wouldn't change
God
a
bless.
blessed thing.
Beautiful.
The creator of the universe
Yes.
has given all of us certain gifts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a wolf husky hybrid, and his girlfriend that won't marry him is a husky. She's a more vicious yard killer than he is. He'll take first dibs on the eats. That's just the way it works. But what would I change? Well, it would be nice if somehow or another, with the fact that the dogs can't help but mark their territory because it's a fenced-in yard, that the local critters would sense that and stay out of the yard.
Yes.
Now, that's the only thing I would change. I would wave a magic wand and say, squirrels, rabbits, groundhogs, snakes, stay out of the yard. There's nothing quite like seeing Rena in the back and she's not listening to you, so you go back there and you think she's eviscerating a groundhog, and you see her doing the paint can shaker, and she's got like a 4-foot snake going, whacking her in the head because it's in her mouth and she's shaking it back and forth. And then after the snake gets uptunded, I'll chase her off. I'll grab it by the tail and boom, over the fence it goes. So I wouldn't change a thing. I would say, thank you, creator of the universe. Thank you, God, for my 2 yard-killing dogs. That's it. I love them.
Beautiful. Well said. Another great podcast, John. Thank you. A lot of fun, a lot of information for all you animal, especially dog lovers out there. I'm sorry if we offended any cat people. Please, cats are nice to look
I had
at.
cats all my life. I just don't have them right now because I don't think they would get along with these two particular dogs.
Absolutely.
Right.
John, how many social medias are we on now? We're on
We we started early on Rumble. We're on Instagram. We're all over YouTube with 47 videos. And
so we're on multiple
we're on
platforms.
TikTok.
TikTok. Okay.
Yeah.
Look for us, people.
Jersey Alchemist. And
Jersey
this was our first live on Instagram, and I hope it was fun. And you know, if you're driving and you're going to do a half-hour drive, turn on the podcast and you can listen and go, these guys are nuts. Or, you know, yeah, I agree. Son of a bitch, I agree. Or, forget it, you guys, I'm not listening anymore. Or, I'm going to listen just to put some hate on you.
Yeah.
Either way, it's fun. We're
all
having
good.
some fun.
It's
That's
all
it.
good. And we're Jersey strong, so you can't offend us.
There you go.
Right.
And what's coming soon on every video is an intro video, a short intro video with
Not
a
too
very
much, John.
famous,
Not too much. Not too much.
I'm
Not
going
too
to say
much.
it, a very famous
Don't do
licensed
it.
song
Yes.
from a local
A
comic,
Jersey
a local
guy.
Jersey comic. Okay, we'll hold it back.
That's
Hold
But
it back, let
it's-
people.
It's coming soon. It's getting more and more fun as every day passes by.
Amen.
All right, brother.
Great job, Johnny.
Okay.
Thank you very
See ya.
much. If you like what we're doing, press like and subscribe on multiple social media platforms.
Yay.
Until next time, peace.